everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be responding to 6 common misconceptions around selective mutism. Does that make sense? Is that the right wording? Who knows? I just want to say now before the video starts that the term selective mutism probably will be mentioned because that's what the professionals use and it needs to change. If I could change it to situational mutism, which loads of people prefer, then I would, but unfortunately I do not have the ability or the know-how to do so. So I will either call it situational mutism or just SM because that's the initials for both of those, and we all know that situational mutism is a lot better than selective mutism because I can tell you now, selective mutism does not like to select when you speak, you just can't. It's in certain situations. That's why situational mutism makes so much more sense. But I just wanted to put it out there before we start. So before you all go commenting, why are you calling it selective mutism? I hate that term. You can comment that you hate it because I also hate it, but I don't have the powers to change it, unfortunately. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there before the video starts. So I came up with the idea of this video because I get so annoyed by how many misconceptions and myths and phrases that people get told that based on their perception of selective mutism without going through it, without knowing what it is. But I thought I'd pick 6 and tell you my thoughts on them because no child, adult, person living with selective mutism should be told these things, or people should think about it. The first misconception is
selectively mute children have been traumatised, abused, or have gone through dark times.
Okay, it could be something caused by this if it started later on in life. But this isn't a common thing. That's more like a PTSD, I would say. People have selective mutism because they are born with it, or it's like a genetic inheritance. Does that make sense? Yeah, they inherited it. So it is not caused all of the time. Like every single case is not caused by someone going through something traumatic or stress related.
I felt that what I said doesn't really make sense. What I was trying to get at is that this factor could cause the development of SM. However, there is a much higher statistic for those who are born with the condition, meaning that each case is different.
The second one is
SM is just shyness. Kids with SM will grow out of it.
No, it's not shyness at all. So okay, you might have a moment when you're shy or lack confidence, but that's not what selective mutism or situational mutism, is. SM means that in certain situations it's difficult to talk, impossible to talk. It's not because you're shy and don't want to, it's because you want to talk but you can't get the words out. And you definitely don't grow out of it. Some people may overcome it, which is brilliant, and if you get the right support then you can. But others may come back to having it. It comes and goes for some. Some people in one situation may struggle with it, but all the rest of their life they don't. It's just the situations that mean that you can't talk. It says that kids will grow out of it. I'm 21, I still haven't grown out of it, okay, compared to when I was 3 or 4. Like, I appear much more confident and I can talk. And I apologise for using the word confident because I do not agree with it half the time. But in this situation, let's just use it. But anyway, I have learned to accept that I have it and that I'm going to be living with it the whole of rest of my life. But okay, there might be times when in a situation I struggle with now I may be able to talk, but you never know, and that's the whole point of living with SM. Common misconception number 3 is
those with SM just choose when they do or don't want to talk.
I have touched on this a little bit already. You don't choose when you want to and don't want to talk. It just happens. You think you can talk in a situation, but you can't. And I feel like it's very repetitive, but certain situations you can't talk. Some you can, some you can't. You don't choose which ones you can and can't talk. You want to choose to be able to speak, and you may rehearse it in my head. I'll rehearse a situation, I'll know what to say, and I'll get there and nothing comes out, or the complete opposite comes out, or I say things that I haven't even rehearsed, or what I think the other person may say to me never actually gets said. So I've just spent all this time worrying over nothing, and that's hard to change. Like, that's my mindset. It's difficult to change. Like, as much as you can try your best to, you just never know when it's going to happen, what's going to happen. It's definitely the unknown factor. But yeah, you don't choose when you do and don't want to speak. It wouldn't be nice to even choose when you do and don't want to speak. So no, that's definitely not true. Number 4 is,
the child is just being stubborn and controlling by not talking.
so when a child has SM and they're not talking to you, it's not because they're ignoring you or because they're stubborn, it's because they can. And I know, I am aware that selective mutism can come in different forms. Like, some people may come across as ignorant, not ignorant, that's the wrong word, but it may seem like they're being stubborn or controlling, but they're not. It's not their fault that they are who they are. It's just like how we sometimes see people that we don't agree with their beliefs, their way of doing things, their way of talking to you. But that's life, and it's all made up of different people. Like, we wouldn't all want to be the same. But they don't choose to be stubborn by not talking. They can't. They will want to talk to you, but they can't. So why put that idea into someone's head when it's not true? That's just going to make them worse. Like, you can't go telling people that your child is stubborn because they won't talk to me, or that they're controlling. How can a child be controlling if they can't talk but want to? It's just such like an unhealthy phrase. It's not good. Say you are doing an activity with a child who has SM and they don't want to join in. They're not being stubborn. They probably want to join in but can't, or they don't want to join in because it's not for them. If a child could tell you they didn't want to do something, you wouldn't force them to. So why would you force someone who already has a heap of anxiety and pressure put on them to do something that they don't want to do? Like, they are more likely to become stubborn because you're trying to make them do something they don't want to. And they're going to become stubborn by ignoring and blanking you because that's their way of saying, no more pressure put on me. So actually, if you do think a child in a class, say, is being stubborn, it's probably from the pressure you're putting on them to talk. I feel like that was a long explanation, so I do apologise. Common misconception number 5 is,
because people with SM don't talk, then they must have a speech problem or delay.
okay, I'm not going to answer this for every single child. There may be children out there with SM who also have speech difficulties or a delay in their speech. That's not what selective mutism is, or situational mutism. It could be that they've got these two things and people are connecting them that they stem from each other. It's not in most cases, I want to say. Like, I don't want to say this for every single case, and that's the same for all answers. But this is my personal opinion on these misconceptions. Probably should have said that at the start. If you've got SM, you don't talk because your speech is delayed or you find it hard to talk. It could be a trigger that you feel like you're different. So if you do have SM, you're like, I don't want to talk because then I could embarrass myself. But if you've got a speech delay, they might not even have a speech delay. If someone's got SM and they're talking at home like absolutely fine, but then they're not talking to those around them, or it could be that they stutter or like stumble over their words, that's because they got so much anxiety in their head and so much worry that's why they're tripping up on the words, not because they've got a delay in their speech or find it difficult to say words. Like, every person probably has a set of vocabulary that's really hard to say. You're hearing like loads of videos I struggle to say some words. I even struggled to get struggled out of my mouth. But that doesn't mean, that's not from my SM. That's because I've got so much to say in my head that I can't get the words out, and then they're trying to come out all at once. The last one, number 6, is,
people just need to force children with SM to talk.
this is my worst nightmare. I hate this phrase. I've been forced to talk so many times. It is the worst thing, and it has happened all my life and throughout school especially. Okay, I'm just going to say what I recommend to everyone who knows someone with SM. The more pressure you put on someone with SM to speak, the less likely, 99% less likely they are to talk. Does that make sense? Like, the most amount. There might be a slight chance that they will, but it's highly unlikely, and if it does mean that they will, they're not going to enjoy it. They're being forced to do something they don't want to do. As I said before, if a child was able to say something to you, you wouldn't force them to a situation they're not uncomfortable with just because they've told you. So you're like, oh, they've told me they don't want to do it, so they're not going to. How do you know that the person with SM doesn't want to do it? If you can see that they're not joining in, you remove them from the situation. And okay, yes, you need to be put into some situations which is difficult, but no way should you be forced. At least sit on the sidelines, like observe what's going on, but no way do you need to be centre of the attention right there and then. But yeah, if you're going to force someone with SM to do something, it's going to make it worse. It's more likely to encourage them to speak if there's no pressure. If you make it aware that they are not expected to speak, if they would like to, they can, but there is no, like, what's the word? If you say to someone with SM that there's no pressure to speak here, if you would like to, that is fine, but go about your day as you normally would. I'm not going to like put any pressure on you, I'm not going to ask you anything in front of other people. They're more likely to like speak to their peers like quietly, because they know that they're not going to get picked on by, say, a teacher. I'm saying a teacher because SM is like the biggest problem is school life, so I'm just like putting all my examples on that just because I read too many things about schools not coping or dealing or knowing how to cope or deal with a child with SM, so that's why my examples are school based. I don't think that made sense. I'm so sorry. I do apologise. I'm trying to explain like in a good way with examples. But yeah, just don't put pressure on a child basically. They're more likely to talk if there's no pressure and they're aware of that, rather than sitting and worrying about being picked on to talk in front of, say, a class. So one really good thing that a teacher did for me, I know I've talked about it before and I'm going slightly off topic, but it helped a lot, was everyone's names got put onto a lollipop stick in a pot. So every time the teacher wanted to ask us something, they could pull a name out at random and ask that person. My teacher pulled me outside and got my name on like the lollipop stick. She said, right, I'm going to throw this in the bin, nobody knows, but your name isn't in here, so I can never ask you a question in front of others. And that just took so much pressure off of me, and I was able to have a better relationship with her. I was able to talk to her more because I knew that she had the respect and I could give her the respect back because she was so kind to me. And because there wasn't any pressure in that classroom, I could be myself a bit more and I could talk to my peers in class, because I knew that if I was talking to them, she wouldn't then make me talk to the whole class, whereas some people would be like, if you're talking to them then you can talk to everyone. That's not right. But yeah, because there was no pressure, basically it meant that there was like 90% of the anxiety about talking in front of everyone was taken away. I do apologise that the last misconception was so long worded, but it really gets to me and I just wanted to make sure that I explained myself. I will try and cut out as much as I can, but I do apologise. I've just got so much to say on the topic. If you do want me to do another video like this, then comment down below, or any misconceptions you have or have heard, and I'll be sure to answer them in a future video. But I hope you enjoyed and I'll see you very soon. Bye!